The time of year has come. It is the SMCGR 2025. A little bit behind per usual, but we're going to talk about the best fixed gear riders last year. We're going to start with the FGFS crowd. Now you may think, oh, J-Ball, you're so lazy. Why are you getting this out in February when we're talking about all of 2024's riding? This list takes lots of preparation, lots of thought goes into it. We don't take it lightly over here. I've consulted the council, and these are the best riders in the correct order from 2024. There is no room for debate. Don't comment your opinion on it. Anyways, if you're new around here, this is the SMC Global Rankings. We do this every year. We talk about who the best riders from the previous year were, and we rank them accordingly. We have a top 10, and then right below the top 10 is the cusp. These are people just on the verge of breaking into that top 10. And we're going to talk about them first. First up on the cusp is a name that we all know and love, the 29er legend, Corey St. Augustine. Corey always keeps it creative, does so many dusters, hard trick to do. He's one of the only people doing them properly. One of the only people on this list that's on 29ers, the big boy wheel size. He had a good amount of activity this year. Even broke his neck a little bit past halfway through the year riding mountain bikes. So I'm really happy that he's recovered from that and is safe and he's back to riding now. Don't do any more rail hops, please. He's well deserving of a mention on this because he had a good year and he always pushes it. Next up on the list, a name that we're actually used to seeing towards the top of this list is Culver City's own Marco Marquez. Marco had a relatively quiet year, but the few amount of tricks he did do were mind-blowing per usual. He only put out 2 clips on the gram this year, but he was featured a lot in Oscar Lopez's Send Saturdays series. He also attended the Suck My Comp 7 FGFS competition and placed 6th after not riding for very long. That's a pretty dang good placement for not riding very much this year, and it just shows how much natural talent that guy has on a bike. Skill-wise, he's obviously deserving of a top 5 placement, but lack of activity hindered him this year. Third person on the list this year, going to be another 700C killer, and that's going to be Korea's own Jaewoo Park. Now, Jaewoo is somebody who really rides the line of trick track and FGFS. He's really, really good at both. He's been really leaning towards the FGFS side of things lately, and for that reason, he's on this side of the fence. He's getting really, really good at bar spins and getting super, super consistent on the bike. He's already off to an insane start in 2025, and I think this is a breakout year for him, and we're going to see some serious progression because he's going hard already. Fourth person on this list, a new face to the list this year, but not a new face to the scene as a whole. We all love him. Netherlands' own Richie Van Pelt. Not only did Richie have a good year activity-wise, but he's also just such a strong player in the Euro scene as a whole, putting together competitions, making parts with his brand Fixated FGFS, sourcing parts for people, even Frankensteining people's bikes to make them work when they're not working. One time I broke an axle on an old hub, and he even made me a custom axle for the old hub. Let's talk about his riding though. He rides fast, he's good at grinds, he can bar spin when he wants to. Takes a bit of creativity to spots, and he's really fun to watch ride. Last up on this list, another Korean killer, that's gonna be Seongmin. Seongmin, much like Marco Marquez, is somebody who has a top 5 skill level, but through lack of activity, he's all the way down here on the list. But he's just so good that it would be criminal not to mention. So I can't ignore him. He's so good on a bike, and I really hope I see more of him this year. That brings us to our top 10 of the SMCGR FGFS 2025. Number 10, gonna be Mr. Matt DeZone, aka Matt Bastard. He's a very familiar face to the FGFS scene, the techie jib god. He got a signature frame through Master Bike Co. in 2023, and he's been going hard on it all year. Not much else to say besides he's doing it like no one else. Number 9 on the list is going to be one of the star players in the Colombia Ephemeral Gang, and that's going to be Stellar Dust, aka Diego Valero. Diego was up there on the trick track list last year. He's made the jump to 26-inch. I don't want to say full-time, but he's riding predominantly 26-inch now. He's taking his smooth trick track finesse onto the FGFS bike, also adding in some really good spot usage. I've been Absolutely loving the stuff that Diego is doing on his bike. A lot of times it's hard for people to go from track bike to 26-inch FGFS and make it look good, but he's doing it. He even got second place in the AM division of the Fixated Comp 2 in Netherlands. I got to meet him. It was really nice, and it's really cool to see him ride in person. He didn't have a ton of easily accessible activity this year. He posts a lot of story clips, and he has a lot of clips in videos, but as far as like him putting out stuff, he doesn't really. So finding his riding, you have to try a little bit, but it's there, and it's really good when you find it. Number 8 is the Huntington Beach local shredder and longtime friend of mine, Mr. Zach Babinski. I don't know what switched in Zach, but he has suddenly just been going insane. He's like the main person sending big bar spins right now. Back in, if we're talking like 2011, 2012, sending huge bar spins was a thing, and it seemed like everybody was trying to do it, and now much less so. Zach is keeping that flame alive. He is going in and terrorizing Huntington Beach. He had a bunch of activity this year, posting clips all the time, coming out to the competitions. Zach, number 8, much deserved. Number 7 might be one of the biggest fan favorites on this list. That's going to be Danny, aka Static, aka the Big Dog. Danny placed first in the Suck My Comp 7 FGFS AM division, absolutely crushing the competition to the point where I'm going to make him compete in pro this year. He's just so good, has a good approach to spots, really smooth, clean, big boy style. This guy's out here almost every single day, seemingly, riding and putting in work. He doesn't put out a ton of clips, but we know he's out there riding. This is a big breakout year for Static. He even got put on Rough Bike Co. recently because of all the hard work he's been doing. See you in the pro division later this year. Number 6 this year is Rough Bike Co. head honcho and brake god Matt Spencer, aka Wolfdrawn. Along with a 5th place finish at Suck My Comp 7 FGFS Pro, he's always putting out tons of clips and traveling around, finding spots, sending huge, big old gaps, bigger than anybody else in the scene. He's one of the only people pushing brake tricks too. There's a few people like Matt Bastard and Deacon too, but I would say he's at like the top of the brake game. He's also been riding the longest out of pretty much everybody in the scene, so he's got some serious veteran bike handling skills. Number 5, Salt Lake City's own Chase Davis, aka Skirt Reynolds. Chase, per usual, had an insane amount of activity in the year. Feels like he posts a clip every day. And they're not just throwaway clips either. They are going to a spot, having his wife film his clip, try hard lines. He's not just feeding us some slop on the gram, you know what I mean? He's putting out quality, high quality, USDA grade clips. Pair all that with a good old 4th place finish at Suck My Comp 7 Pro FGFS division. We're looking at a number 5 spot. Chase crushed it this year. He's also got one of my personal favorite styles on a bike. He's just super dialed. He's also got some of the best footwork in FGFS. If you pay attention to his feet while he rides, he's very ambidextrous and knows how to set himself up proper to do whatever trick he wants to do. Number 4, not a new person to this list, but he's jumped up an insane amount compared to last year's placement. And that's going to be Ismail Lebrec out of France. I've talked about people and their breakout year coming this year. That was last year for Ismail. Absolute breakout year for him. Not only did he get sponsored by Ruff, I think he might put in some of the most work into his riding, trying to actively learn new tricks constantly. Seems like every single time he posts a clip, he's learning something new or cleaning up something that he already knows how to do. All of this effort that he was putting in got him noticed by Rough Bike Co., and he got put on the Rough Bike Co. team. It's not every day we get new team riders on FGFS companies in this day and age, so it's a pretty big deal. Had a good amount of activity for the year. Not only did he put out a good amount of clips, but he also put out an edit on YouTube. That's a pretty big deal. He's the first person I've mentioned on this list who's put out an edit this year. And then we top that all off with a solid 3rd place finish in the pro division of the Fixated Comp 2 in Netherlands. Ismail's been on a tear. Let's see how he continues the tear in 2025. Number 3, one of the most technically gifted fixed gear riders in history, the local man, Miguel Zendejas. Miguel is an absolute powerhouse on a bike. He's the only person doing very consistent tail whips, has so many tricks under his sleeve that nobody else is touching. He's got a real aggressive style. It's fun to watch. He's pretty limitless on a bike. He can do pretty much everything. Slight lack of activity this year bumped him down from potentially the #1 spot, but he did finish first place at Suck My Comp 7 FGFS Pro Division. Put him up against anybody in competition. This man is very likely to take them down. He's that good. #2 on the year, SMCGR 2025. Huge bump up from last year. He's absolutely skyrocketed in the scene. Bursted on the scene with insane bike control and just insane improvement compared to the year before. That's going to be Jori Slikker out of the Netherlands. The strapless god had an insane year last year. We knew he was good, but in 2024, he just took himself to a new level. He's up there for one of the best park riders in FGFS ever, and don't let his park skills deter from the fact that he's an absolute street killer too. His back wheel control is otherworldly. Not only is he that good, his activity was through the roof this year. One of the only people on this list to place in both the fixated comp and the Suck My Comp. He got 3rd place Suck My Comp Pro, and then he got 2nd place fixated comp Pro. So top 3 for both competitions. He also got 3rd place in the Trick Track Pro division at Suck My Comp. So that just shows his bike control as a whole. He also won best trick at both competitions for FGFS. So he's got those showstopper tricks too. And you pair all of that with his Yoriism edit that Crispy put out. He premiered it at Fixated Comp 2 and then it released for the world shortly after. Really great edit that spans like 3 years of riding. You can see his progress at the start compared to the end. Yeah, Jori just had an insane breakout year. That leaves us with 1 spot left. #1, the king of FGFS for the year. It's gonna be SoCal's own Chase Henry. Much like the last 2 people, he's on another level. He's got it in the streets, he's got it in the parks, got it everywhere in between. Had a very tight 2nd place finish at Suck My Comp 7 Pro Division. Had a good amount of activity for the year, put out a lot of clips. Also released one of the sickest edits that FGFS has ever seen. Chase is constantly pushing what's possible on a fixed gear drivetrain, and there's no signs of slowing down at all. Still young, so he's willing to send it too. The 3 off the roof at the end of his edit was nuts. You don't see anybody doing stuff like that anymore. And that concludes SMCGR FGFS list for the year. Next up is going to be the women's list, so stay tuned for that. I was kidding at the beginning, so let me know your thoughts and your rankings for the year. I think it's fun to discuss, so feel free and stay tuned for the women's list coming up next. Thanks for watching.